Hey, Scott Frost here from Moby-Cool.com, makers of Prop Glop, the only barnacle repellent you can put on your boat while it's still in the water. We're going to do a Rolls Royce 1984 starter here, so let's get to it. Okay, we're under the car here. There's the wheel well, and there's the starter right there. And of course that's the solenoid and the starter motor and casing. As you can see, in this one there's a joint right there where the exhaust pipe runs down. The manifold runs down to the exhaust pipe. I don't know whether I can drop it out right through here. It's doubtful. If it comes out, that would be great. If it doesn't come out, I'll have to take this off here and here to give myself the extra room. But the bolts are up in there pretty good. There are 3 bolts, one on the bottom. You can kind of see it there. Then there's another one on the side up here on the top. You can't see. And then I'm going to go all the way around on the other side of the bell housing for the transmission. And the other one's here. Okay, well, we're back here and we're back under the starter. And this bolt, I mean, these are way up in here too. I'm trying to point at it right there. That bolt looks too small to be the primary bolt. That looks like a grounding strap bolt. And I don't know if that stud is the right stud or not. Clearly that's a mounting flange on the starter. So I'm going to start by loosening that. I'll show you that in just a minute. I just want to get the right size. All right, this looks like a 12 will do it. And you want to note I'm using an extension that has a radius tip on it so that I can maybe a 12 won't do it. No, I'm gonna have to. Well, let's see. Yeah, it looks like it's coming up. Go ahead and see if we can get this off, and then when we get it off, we can see what's in behind that. Let's see what's coming loose. Yeah, it looks like it's coming loose. Keep looking at it. That bolt is shouldered a nut on the back of it, so there's a bolt with a shouldered sort of bolt and sticks out the back of it, and that's where the ground wire goes. So you can fasten the ground wire in the same space as the starter nut. So that's what we're going to size next. I'll tell you what size that is and what I had to use to get it off. Now the first one I used a 12 millimeter and a long extension with a 1/4 inch drive, came fine. I'll let you know what this one is when I find out. I can get it out with 2 hands, but not one. So anyway, that's a 9/16, and I'm using a 10-inch extension, 3/8 drive, and it comes right off. So hang on, and I'll take it off and show it to you. All right, this is how this goes. You can see I got the wrench on there now. I bumped it loose. Now I'm turning this off. Let's see how much I can get off here. You have to use a little bit of a longer reach because it has the stud sticking out of the back of the bolt. And all that rattling going on is a heat shield, bumping into the heat shield with the wrench from keep the heat off the pan from the exhaust manifold. Okay, it's coming loose there. All right, I'll take it off and show it to you. All right, there's the bolt. It's got a flat washer on it, about 2¼ inches long, with that stud on the back of it. That's the grounding stud, and it came out of the bottom starter flange. And next we'll take off the hot wire and the ground strap on the solenoid, and we'll take this one off. As you can see, it's coming okay. You can see if you look to the left there a little, you can see the right angle bend that's parallel with the solenoid that runs to that shield. It's kind of frayed. The back of it's a little bit white back there, but that's the main hot lead from the battery. Ugh. It's not loose enough to turn by hand. Almost off. Go ahead and just keep going. Alright, that should do it. Yeah. Okay, so again, that was half. That's what it looks like. Almost looks like a brass nut. So here's the nut that came off the stud, and here's the bolt with the stud itself, and then this is the nut that came off the solenoid. This is a 1/2 inch. The bolt that came out of the starter was a 9/16. And now I'm going to take a flat washer off this hot lead. I'm going to pull this hot lead back and off. Don't know how much of it I can get out of my way, but we'll find out as we work along here. There it is. You can see it loose there. You can see how big that wire is. That's a Mombus wire up there. You can see it right there. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next bolt, and I'll show it to you when I locate a direction I can show it to you. All right, a couple of discoveries here. One is that this first wire runs feels like it runs up into the engine bay rather than back, so I'll have to trace that. But there were two big wires. Here's the Mombus main wire from the battery, and then this one was over the top of that like this. First this one was over. It was kind of hard to get off, and then this one went over that. And I did discover that I'm gonna pull those over here out of my way. There does appear to be a ground wire on the back of the solenoid here, so I am going to have to take that solenoid nut off to get this ground wire off. And then I don't know where that one goes, but we'll discover it together, and I'll show you how to get it out of the way. Okay, so I thought this was a nut, but it turns out it's a little bolt, a 5/16 head. And it goes on the solenoid at the top here. And if I reach around, you can see the wire it goes to. This one right here where my thumb is. That's got to go on the bolt and then back into that hole during installation. That ought to be fun. Okay, we'll go on to the next bolt, and I'll bring you up to the sizes, where it is, and how to get it off. Okay, a couple of discoveries here. This nut right here just is part of the assembly for the solenoid. There's nothing behind it. The one of the wire leads to the solenoid is on this, and this is a 5/16 that I'm using here to get that wire off the top of the solenoid. Unfortunately, this was a northern car. I bought this car in Cleveland, Ohio. Really, it's a rescue car. The car was just the side of being parted out, and so I've done a lot of work on the upholstery. I reupholster my own cars, and I restored the paint with the Rolls Royce paint. This one happens to be Magnolia, and there are a lot of Magnolia cars out there of this vintage. I'll go ahead and take this off by hand now, and then I'll go from there, and we'll go to the next bolt. Alright guys, this one's a little tougher. This is a by feel only bolt. You can't really see this from the bottom at all. It's a 9/16. I'm using a long reach socket and a universal on a 10-inch extension with a 3/8 drive here. So I'll go ahead and well, I'll spin this a time or two while you're watching, but it's really pretty much a two-handed job, and once you get it on there, you don't want to lose it, because again, it's a feel only bolt. So I'll take it out and show it to you. All right, here's what I got back there. This is a 9/16 bolt, long bolt, with a mounting bracket on it, and you can't see this from the bottom. Now, if you had a lift, you might be able to see some part of it, but you know, I've jacked this up, so I'm laying on the ground. This you can't see, but you can feel it pretty well. And when you get it all the way loose, long threads, as you can see, so you got to turn the shit out of it to get it loose. But once you get it loose, it comes right off. So we're going to set that aside. That's another one of the bolts. So we're pretty free up here on this side. I'm thinking that the last bolt to take out is the top bolt, which I'm pretty sure comes from the other side, and I'm pretty sure that the bracket is threaded on the starter. Now here's what I think. I think if I get the starter loose, and I try to take it out this hole and it doesn't come out, it might be hard to do some of this work. So at the very least, I'm gonna loosen this and see if I can rotate this down or even up a little to try to get this bolt out of the way. And I think if you turn the starter this way, the solenoid might come out here and the starter body might come out there. Now it's a tight son of a gun and fit, but we're gonna try it anyway, and we'll let you know what happens. That's why we're here. See you in a minute. Okay. It looks like the top bolt's a 9/16 too, and I've managed to fish this extension up with a universal on it. I'm hoping that'll get it loose with an impact wrench. I'll let you know. Alright, so the top bolt is the 9/16 at the top, and I was able to use this. I used a Ryobi drill. This is a impact wrench and a universal joint 3/8 with a couple of 10-inch extensions. I pulled the bolt back, but I left the socket on, and I left it there so it's easier to put back on, because that bolt goes on from the back side. And then I had to get a screwdriver and a hammer out to hammer right there a little bit to spread them, because it was not budging once I got all the bolts out. So now I'm able to drop it down, and I'll see what happens to try and fish it out of here and let you know. Alright, so I used a screwdriver in between the flange on the end of the tranny. Tapped it a few times and it came loose. It only came back this way about ½ an inch and stopped against this tailpipe. So you got to take this tailpipe piece off. Pretty good plan, really, because there wouldn't be any hope without that intermediate there. Unfortunately, you don't have to take the whole thing loose, but by the time I get this off of here, I'll probably have to replace the donuts, which means that, you know, before you start the job, you want to get those donuts on hand. Let's go ahead and lightly lift this off the top here. Actually, one of these flange bolts was loose, so the flange bolts and lock washers, and you know, I loosened this one earlier, so we can finish loosening this by hand, and that piece is all ready to come out. Let me just keep going here. Maybe I can do it this way. Okay, well, get that's the washer. Can't be in here too somewhere. Well, we'll find that in a minute. Anyway, now we can take this bolt out of the locking flange. Spread this open. And take it one way or the other. Down. There we go. Alright, now that that whole intermediate piece is loose, so I'm gonna try not to disturb these donuts too much. I don't have them on hand, and sometimes the Rolls intermediate pieces can be a little strange. So that comes out there, and now it looks to me like this starter will come out of this hole. I'm going to put the camera down. I don't know if you can see it here at all. Try to make it so you can. I think that's kind of pointed in the right direction. We'll see. I'll try to work this starter out of here. A pretty wide angle lens. Being filmed on a GoPro camera, I gotta looks like it's gonna come right out that hole like magic. There it comes, right out of that hole, and I'm absolutely certain that's the way this is designed. I don't know if Rolls did this or whether this is after the fact, but this is very typical Rolls if it is. Rolls Royce is a fantastic builder. And so that starter is now out of the hole. And so we can look at that flywheel a little bit, just check it out. Looks really good from here. Housing's a little greasy on the inside. You'd expect that after 30 years. So there we have it. Now we have the starter out. I'll take it apart and show you what it looks like. Hey, Scott Frost from Moby-Cool.com here. We're the makers of Prop Glop. It's the only barnacle repellent that you can apply to your props, rudders, and shafts while your boat's still in the water. We're doing Rolls Royce 1984 Silver Spur here. This is a Lucas starter, and I've taken the starter apart and examined it. It seems to be okay. It looks like it's been rebuilt. It looks like the armature is nice and clean. So I'm going to put it back together again and just hot wire it and see, you know, if it rolls over. But before I do that, I have to get these brushes out of the way, and I want to show you an easy way to do that. Show you to make a little appliance here. Not everybody has this kind of metal. You want to use something a little different. Maybe just a wire hanger from your closet. These are fence ties for tying wire fences up, but all you do is about 3/4 of an inch, you just bend it over, and then 1/2 inch you bend it over again, and then come down to the pliers at a level with your bend over and bend it back, and then leaving 1/2 inch, just cut it off. Then you got a little hook there, and I'll show you how to use those. What we're going to do is we're going to pull this back this is a brush, and there's such a pain to hold back while you even a pain to get in place. But we'll do it here. Get this up in the front. Well, we'll pull this one back first, I guess. I'm going to push it back in the hole. And if you look right there, I'm going to use a screwdriver to point it out. Right there's a spring. What we're going to do is we're going to put this over that spring and over the casing and let it go. See how far back this brush is? So that brush is out of our way. Now we'll do this bottom one. We have to square it up in the hole first. There we go. And I got another hook here. And I'm going to hook that over the spring in the body of the starter. Oops, missed it. Over the spring, body of the starter. And I can let that go. See it? Held it back there. I have another one here. We'll do the last one back here. Well, not the last one, but the third one. But it is the last one we have to do, because the bottom one, we can just use our finger to push it down and use the armature to hold it in place. And I'll show you how that's done. Now I have this propped up on a hammer, keep it away from the table, so I can work this a little bit. Now I'm going to use my forefinger. I'm just going to push it down, and then I'm going to hook it on the bottom of the armature, and I'm going to go ahead and flex it. And now I can get the both of the side ones up and on, and now the top one. Looks like I have to work it just a little. Here we go. Now it's in. Now that job's a pain. Doing that, if you don't have something to aid to hold those springs back, is a huge pain. So now you just turn these sideways and lift them out, and go ahead and line up the knob. There's a little knob in this Lucas starter. There you go. And that housing is all lined up. Thanks, and we'll show you what we do with the starter as we go forward. Thank you. Hey, Scott Frost here. We're working on a 1984 Silver Spur starter, and I want to bring you up to the epilogue of rookie mistakes that I made. Number one, take that exhaust crossover piece that I showed you off first. Just get it out of the way, because you're going to have to take it out to get the starter out anyway. Number two, don't forget the starter shim like I did, or you'll have to take the starter off again and put it on and put it back on. I said rookie mistakes. Number three, don't trap any wires between the starter and the block. There's one wire that hangs down there. It's easy to get it trapped in there, and you don't want to do that, so make sure you don't trap that wire between the block and the starter. And number four, just a note, the upper flange on that crossover that you take out to get the starter out is a metal to metal and not a donut, and the lower one is a donut. So that gives you an idea what the configuration is. Well, that's it from Moby-Cool and Prop Glop and Scott Frost here for this Rolls Royce project for a 1984 Rolls Royce Silver Spur starter. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.